Win £25,000 with Paddy's Pick 5. Pick 5 winners from our 5 races to win. Paddy Power.
Hello everyone, welcome to a special edition of Road to Cheltenham. We are live pre-racing here at Clonmel, but if you watch this evening at 9 o'clock, or indeed if you are watching at 9 o'clock, our usual slot on a Thursday, you'll get an extra at the end of the show when we digest the feature race, the Clonmel All Chase, and anything else of interest here today. When I say we, of course I'm referring to my co-presenter on Road to Cheltenham, Ruby Walsh. Ruby, welcome.
Co-presenter, that's a promotion. Now we're on Irish soil. I'm getting upgraded here. Usually I'm just the guy on the end with the notes.
Well, guy on the end of the notes, you should really be welcoming me to Clonmel because this is the first time I've ever been here. It's absolutely fabulous.
You like it, yeah?
Yeah, I think it's really good.
Boutique racecourse.
People don't make racecourses like this anymore. I'm looking forward to going and walking the course.
Well, they most certainly don't make them like this anymore anyway. That's a fact.
But it's not just me and Ruby. Today we've got a very special guest. He is the 3 times champion jockey. He's won every race of note here in Ireland, 22 times a Cheltenham Festival winner and twice a winner of the Grand National back-to-back on Tiger Roll. It is, of course, Davy Russell. Davy, welcome.
Hi, good morning, Lydia. How are you?
I'm very well indeed.
Yeah,
Are
you're very welcome to Clonmel, Lydia, since Ruby.
He's much better manners than me, Lydia.
Don't worry, I'm sure he'll learn your way by the end of the programme. We've got lots to talk about, plenty of horses that you have ridden, including 3 Stripe Life, who comes up later. But I thought I'd also ask you about Maxim, who was a very ready winner for you at the weekend.
Yeah, I suppose we're still learning about him. He ran well in Punchestown and just kind of got chinned on the line, and to be honest I was very disappointed. But the horse to beat him went on and won subsequently, so that kind of eased it a little bit. And then Sunday was a bit of a shock by the way he done it, to be honest. Throughout the race he was just kind of just hanging in there, and then all of a sudden he was getting stronger and stronger, and he finished off really well.
Yeah, he cruised through it in the end.
Yeah.
Gordon was saying afterwards he might see him long term for the per temps. Now clearly he's obviously got to win at least once more in order to get in there. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I suppose I'd say stamina is definitely going to be a huge help for him. And only other thing is the ground with him. If the ground got tight, in March, it might be a slight worry, but he's definitely a horse that can go and run in them qualifiers for sure.
Okay, well I look forward to seeing what he does next. But we are going to stick with the stayers, but stick with horses that are a bit higher in grade, and have a look at the stayers hurdle. Ruby, you're going to give us a sort of potted digest of where we were at the end of the season, having a look at the key races from last term.
Yeah, look, we'll start with Liverpool. Obviously, Sire de Burley had his big day in the sun at Aintree. Flooring Porter went a ferocious gallop on that occasion, but Sire de Burley was able to hang in to him, and he eventually came in and chinned Flooring Porter on that occasion. It was a good run from him. We obviously saw him at the Lismullen, or in the Lismullen at the weekend, and it wasn't a bad run for him, but there he is getting to Flooring Porter and beating him on that occasion. Obviously in the stairs hurdle at Cheltenham it was the other way around. It was a race that Danny Mullins controlled very much from the front on Flooring Porter at Cheltenham, and great tactical ride, big field, and it probably is the be all and end all. But look, even at the back of the last, Flooring Porter, he's that much running left, he wants to go around Cheltenham again. But look, he is the standard bearer. Again, we'll get to him in a second. You had the Christmas hurdle at Leopardstown where the horse in fourth there in the red, Classical Dream. This was a race that was completely of two halves at Leopardstown. Classical Dream got a flyer out the gate under Paul Townend, and Flooring Porter could never get him back on that occasion. So look, they were the 3 big staying hurdles from last year. The form was Irish. The Irish horses came to the fore, and this weekend, or last weekend, plenty of them ran in the Lismullen.
Davy Flooring Porter last season was consistently the one to beat, wasn't he?
He was, and Ruby probably has touched on it there. I think the Aintree and the Cheltenham races, I think Flooring Porter ran. Aintree has a habit of buzzing up horses a little bit, and he ran the figures a lot quicker than he ran in Cheltenham, as in from the start, middle, 3/4 part of the race. Not intentionally by Danny, he was trying to slow it down as much as he could, but whereas in Cheltenham for some reason he settled an awful lot better. His figures were an awful lot slower at different parts of the races, and Danny really was able to dictate it. Not so much in Aintree, it was a little bit quicker at different times of the race. But again, you must remember to Lismullen last year, I feel Florian Porter was beaten when he fell.
Do you?
I do, yeah.
Right.
I rode in the race, and we were very aware of him not getting a freebie. He was coming to, the end of his run. I think it was very similar than this year than last year. So I don't think you'd be taking Florian Porter off the top of the list just yet.
Yeah.
I think it was very similar to last year. I think it was this year's Lismullen had a lot more classier horses that were able to travel and get to him an awful lot easier. But whereas the season will progress, I think Florian Porter will come into his own. I just wouldn't knock him. I done so last year. I actually didn't think he was going to win another stairs hurdle, but he proved me wrong, and I'm going to stay with him until he proves the other way this year.
Learning from our mistakes. I try to do that all the time. Yeah. Let's have a look at the Lismullen hurdle, shall we? This, of course, was won by Home by the Lee. We're going to be concentrating on him in focus a little bit later, but the big question coming out of this race, Ruby, was about Bob Olinger.
It was. Look, you have Bob Olinger, Ashdale Bob, Home by the Lee, Zana here, Sarah Burley, lots of good horses in this race, and I think a lot of eyes were on Bob Olinger, Lydia. How would he travel? How would he jump? Would he show more, or for me anyway, would he show more enthusiasm in a hurdle race than he did in a chase? I think he did. Down the hill from the second hurdle to the third, he was alive and keen with Rachel Blackmore. Don't think we had seen that last year at all. But you can see, was this race running a good gallop? I think it was. Look from Florian Porter in front to Sarah Burley and JP McManus's green and white cap. There's a good stretch on this field. Danny Mullins was going a decent enough gallop. Zana here made a bad mistake in the back straight. Bob Olinger was awkward at the last down the back. Home by the Lead pushed him forward into the straight. But, down they go. Boshted Bob misses the third last. But, it was there for Bob Olinger. Down to the second last, you think he's going to open up and go, but camera angles can be deceptive. Watch him and Ashdale and Home by the Lee landing at the last hurdle. They landed almost simultaneously. He was actually right beside him by then, and he's outstayed Bob Olinger. Now, people have queried Bob Olinger, I've read and heard since, his head carriage. Did it come up? Did he chuck it? Did he run out of petrol? Is there an issue with him? I think he's the same horse there as he always has been, in his gait and how he gallops and how he jumps. I think he'll improve for the run. He got beaten by Fernie Hollow, forced him up over hurdles. He did win his beginner's chase, but it was a pretty weak one. I think he'll improve plenty, but what trip do you go with him, Davy? Do you go up or back?
Yeah, there's a load of things to touch on there. If you look at Bob Olinger when he's point to point, he's the exact same horse as he is today, so I'm agreeing with you. He's the exact same horse. Nothing has changed that way. Do you go up and trip, or I suppose you're not going to go back and trip, are you?
Not when you have honeysuckle.
Yeah.
Well, exactly. He's in two minds. He's thinking about the Matheson or the Christmas hurdle at Leopardstown.
Yeah, I just think with the stairs hurdle, I think he suits it. Mm-hmm. I think he's a chaser. He's come back from chasing. I think to decide the rest of the season on just one blip, he had last year's stairs hurdler, the best of last year's stairs hurdlers behind him, well behind him. So I just wouldn't panic just yet. And as Ruby well knows, going back over hurdles, getting him back to enjoy it, and getting him to stay the 3 miles. You have to dip in and out of all of these things. I just wouldn't be panicking just yet.
He was clearly enjoying himself much more than over
the one thing I do think about him is that he's a much better horse going left-handed.
Yeah, right.
I think left-handed. He doesn't jump left or right, but I just think he's an awful lot happier going left-handed. I just saw him I was watching the replays during the week, and he just has that tendency to lean a little bit to the left. Yeah. And he's just happier getting to the rail and going that way, I think.
Maybe we can have a look at Bob Olinger in focus. We were going to have a look at Florian Porter first, but maybe we can just cut straight to Bob Olinger as the two of you are debating it. I'm more worried than the two of you. I agree his head carriage is typical, and we've seen that before.
That's him pulling up, and he's only try over 3 miles. I don't think he can pay any heat to that. Punchestown time, Henry's horses are running now. They do well to last at Punchestown. He didn't, and he's pulled up. So what? But here he is in the Ballymore. Brave Man's Game, Bear Gills, Gaillard and Menil.
There as he was. And again, in his point of point, he wasn't the most natural horse, and even through his now, early on in his career, he has that little bit of just to pull himself from side to side, and his head is exactly there where it is all his life.
But there's a bit of a hanging fire to me. I mean, I suppose it could have been first time out and all that kind of thing in the Lismullen last time.
Here he is in his maiden hurl. I know it's Fernie Hollow that comes and chins him in a bit of a sprint, but is he hanging fire in Navan against Home by the Lee any more than he was there? Alright, he beats Bacardi's in his beginner's chase, makes a mistake at the last, but look, Master McShee is third, you could say there, so maybe that's stronger form, but I don't think there is. I'm not giving up on him. I'm in Davy's camp. I watched him winning the Ballymore and watched him winning the Maidenhead and Navan. I'm definitely not kicking Bob Olinger to touch just yet.
I'm not doing that either. I'm
well,
just
you
raising
are.
more questions than you are. I'm less convinced by that last run. Let's have a look at Flooring Porter as well, because we've got some things to talk about with him as well.
Yeah, I think he's definitely a horse that improves for his first run. Here's the race Davy was talking about. He said he rode in it. He rode Grand Roy, but look, he felt the second last. Davy must have thought he had him beaten that occasion.
No,
and
not me. I had them beaten, but I felt that he was just coming to the end of his, and the way the winner won that day. So.
And this is him, the only time he's won off the back of a long break. He beats Cuspa Carabelli at Goran Park off the back of an extended break, but he was rated 122 on that occasion, so he was entitled to run probably 25 pounds below his ability and still win that day, whereas when you're in a Lismullen, you can't run that far below your ability and win.
Again, I'm going to disagree with you. I think at the time that was a career best for Flooring Porter coming off a long break, and this time last year was still a much better run than the one that we saw in the Lismullen.
I'm not so sure. Grand Roy wouldn't, was the chaser that day. Sunday, Bob Olinger was the chaser. Humberley is not a bad horse. He's. I think this year's, like you'd Zanny here, you'd a lot of quality horses in the Lismullen last year. I know. What's his name won it, and he's a very good horse last year. Sorry, Burley, but
Durasso won it last year.
Or Durasso, sorry.
Chinned the other horse. So I don't know. I'd say on paper, to me, I'd be thinking that this year's Lismullen was a stronger race.
Yeah, I'd agree, definitely.
I think it was a stronger race and a lesser performance.
All right, fair enough. We'll agree to disagree. Will we be here or
it.
this show will be over before we move on?
Let's have a look at the West Yorkshire hurdle. We didn't have time to have a look back at that in last week's show. This was won by Prashima, Ruby, and won very tidily.
Yeah, it was. Look, and she lined up Prashima lined up at the back of the field. Some decent horses in here. Oscar Elite, 300 through 5, Indefatigable, Sporting John and Thomas Darby, and nothing changed in this race till they got round into the straight on the last circuit where Prashima was still last. But it's how Prashima quickens up, gets to the ones in front and just absolutely sluices in. It's like, this is a really good performance. Prashima had been beaten in the race the year before. Has everything else regressed, or has Prashima stepped forward? I don't know, but
I think everything else has regressed.
Possibly, but I'll have to see Prashima again before I really believe it. But if Bob Olinger had run away from Home by the Lee like Prashima's run away from Thomas Darby, we'd be all jumping up and down. So why are we dishing Prashima?
It's no doubt a career best performance, and I think that probably 300 through 5 and Oscar Elite, who come back from fences, probably ran pretty well for them. But the horses with proven staying hurdle form, I think they were well below their best. But we'll see.
With that time will tell us that time of year.
It absolutely is.
But I'm assuming Prashima will go to Newbury next week.
You'd hope so. You'd
imagine. So we'll get a look at Prashima then.
Yeah, we'll have a proper look at him next week. Now we are going to focus on analyse this. It is a new way of doing analyse this, isn't it, Ruby?
Yeah, it was the viewer's choice. We stuck up a couple of races and you decided which one you wanted to look at, but we're going to look at JJ Slevin riding Home by the Lee, and it was a fabulous ride. Now many people will think it was because he never gave up, but I think there were some big tactical decisions he made in here as well. And Sunday's Lismullen hurdle lines up in a handy enough position on Home by the Lee, who's a strong stayer, good gallop on Flooring Porter and Ashdale Bob, but as we saw already in the clip, very early in the race, Home by the Lee is flat to the boards. JJ has to give him a reminder at the back of the third hurdle, but when he faces into the back straight, he allows the race to get away from him. He sits on Home by the Lee. He can't go with the ones in front, but he does make a big move across the top of Navan. I was watching this live thinking, JJ, you can't move there in Navan. You can't kick into a race before you pass the 4 off the top of the hill. He pushes Bob Olinger forward on the slight downhill run, but you've got to climb back to 3 out. And I'm thinking to myself, he's using this horse the whole time, but it's a tactical decision he made. He forced Bob Olinger forward to the third last hurdle on his first run. Home by the Lee, of course, had run during the summer. Jumps the third last well. Bob Olinger commits down to the second last. Home by the Lee jumps it, but never gets away from him. They land side by side, or almost side by side, and Home by the Lee outstays him. It was a big tactical call by JJ Slevin to commit across the top of Navan. It usually doesn't pay off, but fair play to you, JJ, it worked for you.
What did you think of that ride?
Yeah, look, everything. There's a couple of things that you must remember. JJ is only just back that last weekend from a broken couple of bones in his back, so that was an added part to it. He rode a Grade 2 winner on Saturday,
Banbridge, yeah.
and rides a Grade 2 winner on Sunday. You know, hell of a feat to come back straight into it. And I thought another very interesting part of it was, I watched last year's stairs hurdle. He jumped off down the inside. He stayed there. He didn't like it. He was middle to inner, jumping off here, and when JJ felt that this isn't happening, he moved out. But he didn't just move outside horses, he moved right out and away from the field to try something new. He knows the horse from home, and I thought that was a huge it was a brilliant bit of riding from JJ to what wasn't working. He had to change something, and I'd say, you know, there's not many options you have in a race. What are you going to change? You know, he's trying to go forward, he can't do that, so he just takes him out of the ruck and brings him out wide, and not alone wide, but wider still again, you know.
Okay, interesting point. This was a 2-horse race, by the way, if you're wondering. 59% of people voted for Home by the Lee, 34% for Garlaw, Johnny Burke winning the Paddy Power Gold Cup, and only 4% for Richard Patrick's ride on Magic Dancer, and 3% for Jack Andrews' ride on A Night in Lambourne. So they were trailing from an early stage.
They were, because of what's visually easy to see for people at home. JJ pumping and pushing all the way, but some of those were very good tactical rides, I thought.
Okay, well, not this week.
Nope.
They missed out. They missed the cut. We've got a viewer's question actually coming up, and thank you to Dennis McCarthy for this. And this is for the two of you, Davy and Ruby. He's interested in how horses get fit for racing. After coming in for the summer, I take it they gradually build up their fitness. He's wondering how long they'd canter for, at what percentage of speed in a daily session. When schooling, how many fences or hurdles would they jump in a week, Davy?
How long is a piece of string?
Yeah, exactly. Which trainer are you talking about? Loads of mitigating circumstances, or, you know, different reasons for different things, but the general thing is to start on a walking for 10 days. All that time is built up. It starts at maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour. That goes on for, you know, 10, 12 days. That you can often happen at home in the owner's place or a pre-training yard or something like that. Then they pop into the trainers, and it's very steady, slow, mundane, boring, tiring work, riding out these big, strong horses, going slow. You have a pain in your back from doing it, but that goes on and on and on and on, and it feels like a lifetime, but it's probably
12 weeks,
yeah.
12 to 16. You look at Paul Nichols or Gordon Elliott, whose horses are on fire now. Henry de Bromhead's even more so than Willie Mullins is, but it's no different than you going to the gym. If you haven't been to the gym, you can't do very much the first day, or you'll be sore as a boil the second day. Horses are no different. So as Davey said, you got to build it up. If you look at Paul Nichols, second week in July, his horses come in, they're ready to run by the first week in October. That's a little over 12, probably 14 weeks thereabouts. And then, but if you look at these horses that have run in the 14th week to the 15th to the 16th to the 17th, the ones in the 17th are 3 weeks fitter again.
Yeah,
so
right.
it does take same with Gordon. So like you're talking somewhere between 14 and 18 weeks to get them there.
When does the schooling over obstacles start, and how many? He's asking how many obstacles.
Probably they jump 12 in a session, probably do that twice a week, 4 times maybe, and then you're topping up. That's now you're talking with race horses who've been taught. As you go back to the very beginning, to the grassroots, when they're taught how to jump, that takes way longer.
Yeah.
But when you're just schooling these,
they start over basically the height of your ankle to your knee to your hip, and then to a fence to your shoulder. So that's basically the build up, and
like getting done too quick, it'll go wrong.
Yeah, and frighten them early,
Yes.
and it's very hard to get them back. So.
Yeah.
Or even if they get a dislike to it early, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You want to get them to enjoy it. And
It's a mental battle as well as a physical one, isn't
well,
it?
it is, and that's what training horses is all about.
Sure, every day has to be a good day. If you don't like something, you won't do it again, and it's the same with horses. You have to keep them enjoying it.
There's the time.
You are enjoying this, aren't you, David?
I'm loving it.
Sorry, go on, I interrupted you.
Yeah, but then there's a time to make a decision whether, you know, we have to, you know, up it a bit and make them do it, and then you're waiting on ground, rain, you know, when you school on grass. I find the horses that school on synthetic surfaces, that run off synthetic surfaces, don't jump as well as horses that run off, that are schooled on grass.
Okay.
That's my opinion. I think when we get out onto the grass and school our horses, I mean, it's much different to when you get to the racecourse, and that's the beauty of all them
small, simple things as well though. Yeah. Synthetic surfaces usually have rails on each side, so the jump is railed in. So when you put them out in the field and the jump is isolated in the middle of the field, all of a sudden the horse is lost. So small little things.
So that you're probably replicating the real experience more than that.
Yeah.
as well.
Trying to.
Okay.
And it's amazing how quick that little duck and dive comes out of them when you school them on grass, but
Yes.
they'll keep it when they're
And how easy a horse gets rid of you. You'll see it even in a few minutes in McFabulous's race. When a horse ducks and you're gone,
Yeah.
you've no way back on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, Dennis, I hope that answers your question. I think it does. When you rejoin us, we'll be having a look at the novice chasers.
And here's today's favourite, number 4, First to Feel Rain. And you can see why, Gina.
He must be 20 hands at least.
Just loves the big occasion.
Featurette stud, Gina.
Not sure, Matt. Unlikely to be wanted for breeding. Worthy favourite, Matt?
Definitely the favourite, Gina.
The jackpot is up to 100k this Saturday with Paddy's Pick 5. Pick 5 winners from our 5 races to win. Enter for free online. Paddy Power.
Welcome back to Road to Cheltenham with our special guest, Davy Russell. We're now going to have a look at the novice chasers, and we saw something very exciting yesterday, didn't we? There were only 3 of them at Warwick, but Jonbon took on Montmiral, and West Cork was there, and he's a Great Wood Hurdle winner, and he was left behind. This was great, wasn't it?
Left behind is an understatement. It was, and it was interesting from Flagfall. Jonbon and Montmiral, Aidan Coleman, Harry Cobden, they jumped out and they went, and they rattled down to the first fence. West Cork was always happy behind them. Both were good at the first. West Cork to his right, fourth fence both attacked it, and fifth fence both had to get quite close. But they were still good at it. Jonbon, 6 from home, he was brilliant at it. He was. Fourth last was possibly his only mistake, gets in underneath it, but kept his hind end low, you wouldn't dislike it. Good again at the third last. Interesting when he lands though. Aidan Coleman, 2 taps in the shoulder and sends him forward. He wanted to use stamina. Very good at the second last, and then down to the last race over, slows him right down, right in, pops it, and then squeezes him, makes him work from there home again. I don't think there's anything wrong with what Montmiral did. He'll want a little bit further. And West Cork, could he be a grand annual horse or something along those lines? He's not quite a graded chaser.
Like
Somewhere along the way, wrong race, maybe Sandown, something like that. But what I mean is, Grade 1 horse, possibly a Grade 1 horse at a trip in Montmiral, and West Cork's going to have to be a handicapper.
What's your take, David?
Yeah, I loved it. Harry Cobden done the right thing. You know, he was going to test him down over the first couple, and he just wasn't good enough. Aidan kept it nice and simple. The horse I thought was very interesting was the fourth fence, when both of them were going fast upsides, and both of them had to squeeze. Both horses knew exactly what they were doing. As a starting point for the season ahead, you'd be very pleased. Loads of improvement to come, but I'm sure it's all there.
Yeah, I was taken with both of them. Harry Cobden has said that he felt the Montmiral blew up 3 out, and he's actually advised Paul Nicholls to stick at the 2 miles and go for the Henry VIII, so there might be a rematch. What's your reaction?
Yeah,
to
but
that?
look, I mean, that's something Harry Cobden knows that we don't.
Yeah.
So, but having listened to Paul Nicholls on this show last week, he didn't exactly fill me with confidence as to how Montmiral had schooled. So I was probably glad to see him jump the way he did.
I thought he jumped fabulously. I think they're
So
both,
did I.
like you, I think they're both Grade 1 horses, but Montmiral ultimately up in trip.
Yeah, and you well know it too. I think that's a bit of a myth too with horses that don't school great at home. I'd always like to see them on the track first. I'd even, you'd often see a horse at home that just mightn't jump as well as you'd like. They're confined spaces, but when they're rolling along, and it can work vice versa.
No matter who you are, it's hard to make yourself go fast enough in your schooling.
Yeah.
Some horses rely on speed to jump.
Whereas if you have 2 class horses going at it against each other,
Yeah,
as
in
these
good
two were,
company there. There was
Yeah.
no one pricking their ears or looking or ducking it. They jumped out and they raced, and I'd say both horses came out of it really well. The 3 of them came out well. They all put in a perfectly good round of jumping, and as Harry Cobden said, where is the improvement going to come for him, or is Jonbon going to keep improving, or is he going to stay there?
which you could
Time
easily
will
do.
tell.
Yeah, exciting, isn't it? Let's have a look at another really good race. This was the Arkle Trial at Cheltenham on Saturday, and Ruby Wood picked out Banbridge for his very, very good debut at Gorham Park already. This was a step on.
It was, but it was his jumping, Lydia. He was obviously his best run over hurdles at 2.5, but 2 miles in chase. The fences have made him quicker. He's so fast through the air. He was brilliant at the first and the second. Now the third and fourth fences, watch Tommy's Oscar at the back. He's just a bit slower. He loses half a length, and again at this one he loses a bit further. Fifth fence, Glory and Fortune in the sheepskin nose and white cap, makes the first of a couple of mistakes he makes. Pendant Hills gets this one wrong. Glory and Fortune gets the next one wrong, which was the 8th, and then off the home turn, Pendant Hills, well, what do you expect? Triumph Hurdle horse, it's going to one further. That's what it looked like here. We lose Glory of Fortune at the second last when he tips up, and that allows Banbridge to stride right away from Tommy's Oscar with some more solid jumping. But he's a horse that stays, Davy, but he's so fast from A to B, down in trip, has suited him, could suit him.
Yeah, I love this type of horse.
Yeah.
Very uncomplicated, ride him handy, point him in the right direction, and if they're keep clicking, it's nothing worse when you're riding a horse that you're wanting to slow it down and there's someone just doesn't want to slow it down.
Yes.
I love that. Just keep clicking, and JJ's good at that as well. You know what I mean? They suit each other.
Joseph O'Brien said afterwards that the Drinmore would probably come a bit too soon. He wasn't keen on meeting deep ground, so the Faheen is probably out on St Stephen's Day.
That leaves
the
Leopardstown.
racing post, yeah.
Yeah. Long run from the second, only 2 fences in the last 5 furlongs though.
Yeah, that's the other side of it too.
But stamina, he stays well.
Yeah, but when you have a very good jumper, you know, you'd love to see the finishing fences in the finish to make the most of it. But
am I sensing from the both of you that you think he's going to be just as effective at 2 miles than over further?
Yeah, I think, I'm not making the comparison, but Fences made Gallop and the Champ a quicker horse as a novice chaser, just his power through the air, and Fences have made Banbridge a faster horse.
Yeah, I was really impressed by him.
Right.
It was just like worry the 2 miles, but I rode against him in Gorn, and his jumping was unbelievable, and he proved there that stepping back could be just as much of a help as a hindrance.
And looking further back, Tommy's Oscar, I felt like the Cheltenham fences looked just a little bit of an effort for him.
Just looked too big for him, but he was a good hurdler. He only had 1 run in Carlisle. He could step forward. To me, all he needs is confidence. He doesn't want a bad experience. More confidence, he'll get a bit braver.
I didn't think he lacked the braveness. I just think it's just a bit physically, just a bit of an effort for him. Do you know what I mean? It's just a bit.
Yeah, he's a big enough horse. Would you believe he ran an 8 points?
Did he?
Yeah, he fell first time out, and he was second a number of times, and he won his last one. But he was with Clonmel, he ran an 8 points, and I was thinking that when he would go chasing, that he might just actually push on past his hurdle form.
Right.
There's so many good horses around. I'm not quite sure he will.
Yeah.
You know,
It certainly didn't build on Carlisle.
No, but having said that, all the winners were on the pace at Cheltenham Friday, Saturday. He dropped in. You know, different change in ground might change that around a little bit too.
Very interesting you say about the pace in Cheltenham, being on the pace. It was the exact same as the meeting beforehand.
Yeah.
And if you weren't on the money in Cheltenham, it was very, very hard to get into the races.
Okay. And was that down to the slick conditions?
I don't know. They changed the track from year to year, from different.
Yeah,
parts
you
of the
were
year.
you were out wide, but maybe just good ground. And I'd say guys in front, more the riders in front, not going too fast. They were judging it better.
Glory and Fortune and Pentland Hills, are they ever going to make chases?
Dorian Fortune's a long way to go. Pentland Hills, it's 2 years since you won a try for a bit more. I'd say he just wants a trip.
Okay. Let's look next at Three Stripe Life, shall we? He won a Nace beginner's chase. We'll start with Ruby's view and then we'll hear from the person who actually rode him. Three Stripe Life, Ruby.
Yeah, look, it was self and Grand Jury. Unfortunately, Grand Jury suffered a fatal fall at the second last. But I thought Three Stripe Life jumped well. I actually thought he jumped better when he was behind Grand Jury than he was when he was in front. He was a bit careful early on. That's the 5th fence over there in close. He was really quick with Davy, and Davy didn't have to pull him back to shorten him. He knows how to do it himself. He was good at the last. Decent performance, but when he was last Davy Russell, he was on his back.
Yeah, well, I was a bit of a soft spot for him anyway, you know, but again, you'd be very pleased by the way he went and done things. As Gordon said after the race, we done everything, we made the run when we dropped in, and we came back and led, you know, from 2 out, so I just took really well. I just love riding beginner chases around Nace. It's a lovely place to start them. You're straight line to all your fences. You're rarely on the turn bar, the ditch down the back, and that's not even a turn. He just had a pleasant experience. Now he's got a next step. It looks like it could be the Fairy House, and that's a huge step up from a beginner's chase to a Grade 1. So you know, we'll see. But he's had a lot of experience over hurdles, and he's a Grade 1 winner over hurdles. So.
Yeah, Aintree, and he's also run up against the top flight novices from last season, both at Cheltenham and Punchestown as well, and acquitted himself well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and he'd done the same over hurdles. He went from a maiden to a Grade 1 and ran really, really well, finishing second to Sir Gerhard. So you know, he's capable of doing it.
How far do you think he'll stay?
Yeah, he's another horse. He can run over any trip. It wouldn't have bothered me if he started the beginners over 2 miles, because he's enough pace for that. And you could do, as we were saying about Dandridge, you could click him along, and even he might jump a bit more extravagant over 2 miles because you'd be taking out a stride. And it wouldn't bother me that he'd go up to 3 miles.
Okay.
Yeah, ground dependent, I suppose, you know, extremes of any ground would probably make a difference to what trip you'd be going on.
Okay.
But he's very versatile, he could go over any trip.
Let's have a look at his stable companion, Hollow Games. He made a very taking debut in what looked like quite a competitive race at Navan.
Yeah, obviously Willie took out Flame Bearer, but look, same thing, booked out good and handy, pinged the first fence, second fence slightly out to his right, but look, Shortens were very good at the third fence, seventh fence, Jack doesn't have to move on him again like Three Stripe Life, Shortens himself, doesn't have to take him back, very sure of what he was doing, quickened down over the second last, flew the last when they were going a bit quicker, and stayed at it well. He's a horse that'll get further, but a bit like Naas, Navan's another great track to start at, and he's a horse open to both distances, but you'd love the way he hit the line with the acceleration he had, and again very sure of what he's doing. He's able to get in close and stand back and have a cut.
He looks like he's going to be a better chaser.
Yeah, he definitely looks that way, and the ground was it was good, nice ground, it was safe, but he, for a big imposing horse, he actually likes a bit of nice ground.
Right.
So that real deep heavy ground during the winter just might not be ideal for him, but he'll handle Fairyhouse and then Leopardstown and them places will be fine, yeah.
Heartwood looked pretty decent as well in second.
Yeah, horse a bit of a surprise, but I mean, yet again, Henry, horse that was so looking to be a lot better as a chaser.
Yeah, he's only a 4-year-old after winning a novice handicap, wasn't it? A listed handicap in France.
In Auto, yeah.
He's by Care de Nord, who's a relatively new stallion who's actually putting his hand up to be okay. So he acquitted himself very well.
He did, yeah, big time.
There's some horses further back as well that caught my eye. Get My Drift maybe for handicaps.
Came home really well.
For the mare's race potentially. Wasn't sure about Colonel Mustard.
No, a bit disappointing, and Carrick Sam as well, but look, time will tell. I mean, there'll be loads of winners out of that beginner chase, as there will be from behind Three Stripe Life and from behind Jerry Colomb in a minute.
But first, McFabulous at Exeter. You will remember that he went to Wincanton to make his debut behind Hang In There in a Grade 2 and was pulled up quite sharply because Harry Cobden feared that he'd gone wrong. Here, there was plenty going on with Campron and seating at the first.
Yeah, Campron jinx, like we said, schooling, Aidan Coleman is gone. Bit high maybe the next fence, McFabulous. And when he had a look on the approach, he ducked left and right, was better at the last fence with a circuit to go. And, you know, Campron does get in the way then. Sixth fence, he's having a look. But is it Campron? Whereas at that fence he wings it. That was the first fence, the 10th, that he was out through the air. Harry Cobden was intent on not getting anywhere near McFabulous and stays well clear of him all the way up the straight, or tries to, pings the second last, but puts down at the last and gets himself out of it. I think he jumps McFabulous. It's a little bit high, and he's definitely going to want confidence. He's the kind of horse that you'd hate to see making a bad mistake or getting a fall, because I think he could back right off and get quite high. He's a big engine, but he's going to rely a lot on good experiences and confidence.
That was pretty much the story of his hurdling career as well, wasn't it? I think
yeah, but that's...
Harry Cobden couldn't really ride a conventional race there, could he though, Dave? Because he was always wary of the loose horse.
Yeah, and you know, there's so much going on in your sight line, and you're trying to keep away. You're trying to. I actually thought he acquitted himself very well. I just think maybe the key with McFabulous is big ground. I think extremes of soft ground would test his jumping. I loved what he done at the last. If you're in trouble, but if you're looking for an extravagant jumper over a sharp trip, it's not ideal. But he was quick at it. I just think really soft ground would make them fences a little bit bigger, but on better ground come the likes of Aintree and maybe Punchestown or some places like that, you could see him coming back into the fray, you know.
Punchestown might be interesting because Paul Nicholls always said that he needed to go right-handed, didn't he?
Yeah.
That was what he used to say about him. Right, you've mentioned Jerry Colomb. Let's see him. He's a lightly raced horse. He's unbeaten in multi-disciplines, and now he's unbeaten over fences as well under rules. This was a really nice performance.
It was, but his main rival Braun didn't jump anywhere near as well as him. Jerry Colomb was quite good. Braun was pretty hit and miss behind him. He's a strong stayer, jumped beside Sam's Profile, 5 out, jumped up to him again at the third last. Jack Kennedy was under no illusion as to how much stamina he has, and he just kept piling it on here. It's a really strong stayer. Love the height he gave the last. Big jump, loads left in the tank, and sees it out well. Tenzing runs on well to almost nab Braun at the line. Braun has to brush up his jumping, but Jerry Colomb, who's been fragile is probably a wrong word, but he hadn't run since last January. Obviously something went amiss. Maybe he wants really testing ground, but he's a really strong staying horse.
What is the right word if it's not fragile?
I don't know. He does enjoy really heavy ground, and they've just minded him maybe, but he's unbeaten, so you know,
yeah.
He hasn't done anything wrong yet. His jumping is brilliant, but he's a lazy horse. He's behind the bridle sort of horse, so ground conditions help him to be, when others may struggle on it, he will really travel on it and jumps like a buck, and you know, he's a stayer.
He is 3 up, or 3 miles Leopardstown at Christmas, 10 up in Navan. There's a 3 mile in Naas as well. You could see him in all those long distance races.
Yeah, but then again, you see a heavy
Deep
ground conditions, that turns into a slog.
Yeah, but he's going to have to clash against maybe 3 Straight Life, Hollow Games. You have to. Gordon has to slice and dice here. Make them all count.
Yeah, so ultimately he's going to have to go up. I agree that Bron didn't jump well at all, but that was kind of a feature of that race. The only horse that really jumped really well is the winner.
Conditions were tough now. You may not have seen it there, but they were. I was supposed to ride, I didn't run, and I walked out in the track and the ground was soft.
Right.
So if you were in behind, it was hard to make up ground and jump well. You either done one or the other. You either jumped really well and didn't make up any ground, or you were trying to chase the race and your jumping might have suffered because of that.
Okay. Last one we're going to have a look at is the Real Whacker. I've got a fondness for this horse. I liked his run when second behind Marla Mission in the River Don last season, and now on Chase Steady he's come out and won. Horses with more experience against him. Yeah,
exactly. But look, the horse in second was the interesting one, Bardenstown Lad, who had been third in last year's Albert Bartlett, but he didn't jump well at all. Backed off the second, lands on the fourth. Yeah, he's one of those horses that's going back over hurdles, you would imagine, if he's going to be a classy one. But Indigo Breeze arrived down beside the Real Whacker, looking like he was going to take him, but to be fair to the Real Whacker, he just out-battles Indigo Breeze, Davy, who you rode behind Banbridge at Corn.
That's right. He's good old form in the book, and it's a good level of form. You know what I mean? There's hard to knock it.
That's a very polite way of saying you're not certain how good that form is, and he has to improve again. We'll read between the lines for you.
Well, if you're going to beat Dandridge, he's going to have to improve plenty, because
yes.
Dandridge put our horse away, pretty easy. But he's going to have to keep stepping up. For me, he's a horse there that's kind of stuck. I'd love to see the legs of that horse in a William Hill chase at the festival.
Is his Indigo Breeze?
No.
The Real Whacker.
Right,
because I'm just not sure if he's the real top horse that you could say going on to be a Gold Cup horse. So, if he got experience along the year, I'd love to see him, like him. And
actually, I think that's a better shout. I was going to say National Hunt Chase, because I see him as that sort of really old-fashioned stake chaser ultimately.
That too, but I just
need to be more hard.
Yeah, you need more runs, and nowadays you kind of need to be a Gold Cup horse also to win a 4 mile chase. So
it's the National Hunt Chase. It's only 3 miles and 6.
Yeah, National Hunt Chase. So
as I've been reminded on several occasions,
it's not the real slog. You need a quality horse to win that also.
Yeah. I really like how the Real Whacker reacted. He made a couple of mistakes. The next fence he came up really well, particularly 2 out to 1 out.
I didn't think there were massive mistakes either. I never looked at him and thought, oof. I thought he was well able to jump.
Yeah, he warmed up as the race went on. Let's have a look at the National Hunt Chase betting, shall we? I don't think the Real Whacker features, but a horse that Davy has ridden recently does, and that's Chemical Energy. You kept wide, didn't you, in October when you went on him?
Yeah. It was just the ground had broken up really, really fast on the inside, and I just felt I actually started on the inside because Henry's horse had a tendency to go right. He didn't jump right, so I moved back out to the better ground, and the minute I moved out, the complexion of the race changed immediately. My horse was much happier. My horse jumped really, really well. His jumping was a little bit to be desired with at the start of his career, but now since this stole at Cheltenham, he's one of them horses that's got that bit of confidence. Every day it seems to be getting better and better, and the likes of 4 mile chase, Jamie Codd or Barry O'Neill or whoever it is going to ride him would be very interesting.
She's been dying to talk about him. I wouldn't put him in last week. Chemical Energy.
Yeah, I actually like the horse. He's done very, very little wrong. He just keeps knocking away there. He was never really a hurdler. I do think that an extreme, once I got onto the better ground in Cheltenham, the fresher ground wasn't that bad that day. I know we had a lot of rain and it looked bad, but it wasn't that bad. And again, come March, if the ground is drying, whichever Cheltenham we're going to get, the wet one or the dry one. Yeah. If you get a dry one, I would, he does handle it with a nice ground. Okay.
All right, so that's our update on the novice chases. There was plenty to go at, and I'm sure it'll be the same next week. But next we're going to move on to the 2 mile chases. Now there should have been plenty to go at, but sadly for a variety of reasons there wasn't. Let's start with the Schlur, with Newbury becoming the 3rd back-to-back winner, and it was pretty much a school run.
Yeah, we didn't learn anything new other than that Newbury can make the run and doesn't have to be held up forevermore. Ghana Pat T and Daddy Tiger has a look at the first. but that was it then. He attacked the second fence for Harry Skelton, flew that down to the third last, always in control. Second last, he gets to it, he's nice and neat, pings it, and same at the last, and it's all over. It's a school around, but a nice school for 56,000 or 49,000 or whatever it was, and he's a good winner. Dan feels he has unfinished business in the champion chase. I have a feeling it'll remain unfinished with this fella.
Slightly unlucky 2 years ago behind Put the Kettle On. Pulled out on the morning of the Queen Mother Champion chase last season because of the rain falling on Watergrad. He's talking about going Desert Orchid and then the festival. I'd run him in the Dublin chase as well if he was mine.
You see, I don't, the likes of Newbury Negra, I don't know the horse, I don't know much about whether he needs to be fresh or whatever, but the likes of him, I would be running him in every possible opportunity I could. He'd collect prize money after prize money after prize money. I'd take him to Desert Orchid, Dublin Racing Festival, Punchestown, everywhere he could go, I'd take him.
Yeah, the local
because
show.
he's one of them horses that, you know, he's always going to find one better, but you never know on one of them days you could just...
But you need to be into it.
You need to be into him, yeah. I'd love to, if I had him now, I'd love to be running him every time there was a two-man chase.
Listen to the man. Right, let's have a look at the Poplar Square, shall we? This went to Jeremy's Flame after plenty of accidents.
Yeah, look, only 3 really counted anyway. Gentleman to Me, Jeremy's Flame, Course Sublime, and they jumped up, and that's the way the race was set up. Gentleman to Me makes the running, pings the ditch opposite the stands and gets himself a bit of ground. Fourth last again, Mark squeezes him and he's good, but third last, Gentleman to Me in front, hits this a fair old thud. You can see the palm off the apron getting kicked up into the air, but by the second last, Course Sublime is all over him. Till the last, who was going to win, not sure. Course Sublime hurdles it and knuckles over, sort of eventually brings down Gentleman to Me, and that leaves the race fit Jeremy's Flame to come home in front. Disappointed from Gentleman to Me, but his first run over fences wasn't spectacular either, and he improved a hell of it off for the run.
Did he need the run last year?
Did he
need the run here?
Looked like it.
Yeah, I was thinking the same. On looking at the card beforehand, he was giving away weight, needed a run. I thought it was an ideal opportunity for
Course Sublime
to go and win a graded race.
Mm-hmm. Jeremy's Flame, does that open up options? Do you think she could be the kind?
She's consistent mare last year.
She's a quality.
Would she get 2.5?
I think she would. At different days she seems to be, she can get very highly strung, and you know, different days she runs different types of races. But in Galway, her
good run,
in
yeah.
Galway, I'd suggest she'd stay. I think she would stay 2.5.
Yeah, me too.
I wouldn't. She's the kind of filly you could travel now. You could go to. There might be more opportunities in England for her.
You think there is Carlisle, Newbury, a lot of them are over further. Not that many mares chases. Well, there's a brilliant mares novice programme in Ireland. The Open programme is not great. This time of year we have one in Clonmel this afternoon, but I think the next mares Open chase in Ireland is Naas in January.
Right. Yeah.
That's it. That's something that needs to build then.
It's building, and we're getting the mares for it, and it's the likes of Jeremy's Flame, Ellie May, and there's a couple more. I actually had them in my head this morning, but that mare's chase will grow and develop, and because not every horse is a grade 1 horse.
I'm not sure it will. I just have a thing.
Come on, you're more into breeding than me.
Yeah, I just have a thing that, if you have a quality mare that's after winning hurdle races, novice chases, and, how long are you going to keep her racing? It's okay, JP and them big owners, and JP does like to breed, and Jiggins don't like to sell, and, how long are they going to stay chasing? You know what I mean? Because they have that other avenue to go down, to become brood mares and produce stock. So, once you get your bumper novice hurdle, novice chase season out of the way, you're into kind of a 7-year-old mare, maybe an 8-year-old mare. The whole thing about this breeding program is to get them breeding earlier, younger, so that they can, and you get more stock out of them. So, if you have a quality mare novice, and then you have the chance of risking them. Where do you pull the plug, where do you don't? Yes. So I'm just not sure about that Open.
It's the competing tensions, racing and breeding, isn't it?
It is, but that's the commercial versus the sport.
And then when you have owners that just want to race and run, there is
and that's it. So you encourage more of those people to buy mares, because mares can be sold again, and then they might reinvest again. So I hope it works.
The other side of it then is if mares got racing earlier, as in 3-year-olds, then they would be younger for the Open season.
And we'll change it all.
Yeah.
Push back to 11 o'clock show.
Okay. Really interesting this. Sorry, I'm going to have to drag you back to the 2 milers. Let's have a look at the Fortria chase, shall we? It was won by Captain Guinness, beating Riviere de Tel. She had the ability to win though, didn't she?
She did, but I think this is a mare that's going to step up and trip high into her right at the first. Rachel Blackmore took it straight off her, pings the second on Captain Guinness, who's a real 2-miler, very quick. First fence down the hill, got in close, but the mare gave it away. Fourth last fence, another couple of lengths. Second last, third last, out to her right. Captain Guinness true and straight. Second last again, another mistake from the mare, but Captain Guinness is gone. Like, I think she'll step up and trip. Not like her to go as right though, Davy, was it?
She has done in the past.
Yeah.
She has done in the past. Maybe a little bit more on Sunday.
Just don't remember her giving it away behind Fernie Hollow.
No, it was more exaggerated there, wasn't it, than previously?
But in Cheltenham she done it going left-handed. Where was Fernie Hollow? Leopardstown, yeah. But as you know, in Leopardstown, you go
straight
to the middle,
line, yeah.
You go to the middle of the fence in Leopardstown. You don't go that right, and you're dead right about what I said. She has stamina, but she's quite keen and she likes to run now. She likes to go. So that's
4-year-olds when they get 2 as well as they get at 4. 95% of them want 5.
Yeah, she's the one.
That's the one I couldn't think of earlier.
Right,
she's the
okay.
one for the open chases now, and she will step up.
She will, yeah.
She'll be hard to beat now in the mares' chases, you know.
The Mrs. Paddy Power as well.
Yeah,
more
that's what I was
galloping,
thinking.
Left-handed track.
New track, her, Jeremy's Flame.
She needs to go well, to the right. She goes right.
Yes, so. I know, but I was thinking that she's only run, and with the Fred Winter and the Arkle, she's only on the old course. At least the new course is more galloping. It's not quite as tight and turning, is it? Was my only thought. Right, now we've got the excitement. Contain yourselves. Shishkin galloped on Tuesday. Let's have a look at what he did. He galloped up against Champ and Chantry House. This is the kind of stuff that excites us in Britain. Can you see him?
I can't. Well, who's riding what?
Nico's on.
Nico's on Shishkin.
Did they weigh in before or after?
I'm not sure. Went by the line quick, didn't they?
So afterwards, the news was that he seems to be recovering well. He got it from his rare bone condition that was diagnosed after he pulled up in the Queen Mother Champion Chase, you remember. The scans seemed to be good. Nicky Henderson would only say that the Tingle Creek was part of the plan. It's not a definite, but it's a possible. Let's have a look.
That's because he's afraid of you. If he says it's the plan and it doesn't happen, it's just he's getting cleverer, Nicky. Fair play to you.
I did see him school. I did see him school on some video on Twitter, and to be fair, he looked pretty awesome now down over a fence. I would never really take too much about the piece of work, but he schooled with Jonbon and something else, and it was on Twitter, and he looked good.
We know at his best. I mean, at his best he's down at Ergelen, and he wasn't his best at
She looks, and he had intrigue. I hope he stays right anyway.
Now, did we show the Tingle Creek entries? I don't know if we did in the betting. If we did, I missed them. Let's have a look at them. Okay, so Captain Guinness, after having won the Fortria, he's been finished third behind Grenadine. He goes there. Fernie Hollow is entered there, as is Gentleman de Mee. What's the thinking? Do you think one of those will turn up?
Well, I'd say Willie wouldn't be overly keen on pitching Fernie Hollow in against Energrameen in the hilly way, so he's trying to create options. If he keeps him for the John Durkin and goes up to 2.5, he'd more than likely have Shaq and Bourgeois and probably Gallop and the Champ to take on. So be interesting to see where he goes. I'll try and find the race number for him.
Edwardstone, of course, is in that race. He was entered at Ascot on Saturday, and he has actually been declared, as I understand it. So that's interesting. A handicap at Ascot he is running in. There he is, taken out on ground described as good, although some organisations in Moving Time Frame, for example, suggested the ground was more like good to soft. The Racing Post disagreed and said that Cheltenham was actually good as described. Edwardstone,
I was there, but I didn't go out and look. Doesn't really bother me anymore.
The jockey told me it was a bit dead, so that would say good to soft, or good, slowed and good. Yeah.
Slowed and good, yeah.
What did you think of Edwardstone last season?
Best novice chaser last season, over 2 miles.
Definitely, yeah.
In the Anglo-Irish classifications, it was Gentleman de Mee by £3.
And that's why he's running him in the handicap, because he knows he's £3 well in.
This has surprised me all last year. Just kept on going and jumping and running and jumping, and typical, getting back to the likes of Banbridge that we spoke about. Similar type of horse. Nothing flash, but gets it done.
Yeah.
Do you see him going up in trip at all potentially?
You see, the options, Andrew, it's kind of, if you're going to be a championship horse like Barry, you're going, Ryanair, but in between, do you stay 2 miles until the Ryanair, or when do you go up? What are the options?
Ascot Chase.
Ascot Chase, that's it.
Yeah,
really,
that's it. He's not going to the Peterborough, obviously, because he's running Saturday. So I suppose you find out when you get on Saturday. If he doesn't win the handicap, or having said that, deserved to have got beaten the handicap before he won a champion chase. But
I think it's a good option. You're going to find out plenty in a race like that at Ascot, and I think it should suit him as well, the way it's run.
Better look.
Yeah.
Funambu Savola, is he in?
No,
he was entered. No, he's out.
He was top weight, but Edwardstone is now top weight. Let's have a look at Ferny Hollow and Energumen. You've mentioned Willie has said that he wants to try and keep them apart. He didn't want to run Ferny Hollow at the weekend because of the ground. So that Tingle Creek is an option. Otherwise, they both meet in the Hilly Way, don't they? Or is there something else?
Hilly Way is close enough to Christmas. It's the 11th of December. So one runs in the Hilly Way and one waits for Christmas. That's the other option, I suppose.
Who's better at their best, Energumen or Shishkin last season for you?
Yeah, toss of a coin. Shishkin, I had a wicked soft spot for Shishkin. But Energumen went and done it in Cheltenham. I'm edging on the side of Shishkin,
okay,
to be honest with you, yeah. But Energumen probably has more scope to improve,
right,
where Shishkin was there, and that's the only thing. Maybe this might be the season that Energumen pushes on past Shishkin, but I thought Shishkin was a better horse last year, obviously until Cheltenham and the mishap. But
and all well with Energumen.
All well with Energumen.
Okay. Various different pronunciations. I noticed that.
Energumen, I don't know.
Willie Runners picked up Gary O'Brien on it at the weekend as well, and played the trump card of my French staff pronounce it this way. Okay, end of arguments. Right.
Yeah, but we speak English-French, not French-English.
Yeah. I try to anyway.
I don't even speak any French. Barely speak English.
You said Riviere de Tell, that's perfectly fine.
And Care de Nord, but that's, as far as it goes, Marche and Trotte is about as much as I know.
Right, well, we're speaking your language, which is the language of horse racing. Let's have a look at the social poll, shall we? We asked you this question: which novice hurdling mare are you sweetest on currently? And we gave you the options of A, Astro Diamond, B, Harmonia Maker, C, Deeply Superficial, and D, Magical Zoe. Let's take them in turn before we find out who you voted for. A, Astro Diamond, a winner against the boys at Naas on Saturday.
Yeah, tough performance, stayed really well. Obviously won the bumper at Aintree last year. Yeah, it was a good performance from her. Battled well to win an ace on Sunday under Paul Townend, and she should improve a fair bit for it, but it's still a maiden hurdle.
Yeah, she landed a bit unbalanced, but managed to get on top.
Yeah, I think you could ask of her now. I think she lost plenty of momentum at the last. Now the only thing with Naas is you have that time to pick it up, and she showed her little class. I think there's a load of improvement, and she looked big enough before the race now. I'd say, fitness-wise and experience-wise, I think she's classy.
Okay. B was Harmonia Maker.
I was impressed with her in Ferryhouse on Tuesday. Jumped out, jumped to her left. Probably better going the other way around, but absolutely, when Davy has told you how heavy the ground was there. The mare behind her was Ella Law off Gavin Cromwell's, and we're going to see her again in a second. She got very tired battling Betsy back in third. I thought that was a good performance.
She's a lovely filly. I'd say she's a year older now. She's a year more sensible, and she's a year stronger. So I could see her finishing off getting a full season out of her. Where last year it just kind of caught up in her a little bit, but she's matured lovely, and she's a classy filly now. So she's a good filly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next we have C, Deeply Superficial.
I like this one, and Davy rode her, so you can talk about her. But this mare really impressed me in Galway.
Yeah, and there was loads of things that I was very pleased with her, because she had a look at her hurdles. She is very good to jump, but had a look and wasn't as quick. And I think all of them things, after the run are going to iron out, and she's going to be an awful lot better. I like her now. She's a lovely filly. Really, really excited about her.
For the now, this is the one I like. D, Magical Zoe.
Yeah, quickened up well at the north. I think the race played to her strengths though. I thought they went pretty quick in front. Adrian Heskin dropped her in. Nick Keeney and the Model Kingdom went at each other to the second last, and it opened the door for Magical Zoe to run over the top of them. Good performance. I think she got a really good ride on the day. But look, before the results come up, if you're offering me one, I'd take the filly Davy Road in Galway.
I assume you're there as well.
Yeah, I'm mad about my own. I was impressed by Magical Zoe as well.
Okay.
Well, Magical Zoe is more done.
Yeah.
And the rest of them are first time out.
Yeah.
She's gone and won listed. She's won a listed or grade 3.
Grade 3, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, in terms of what they've done now, she's the most.
She's ahead of them. Yeah.
Let's have a look at what you thought. You thought Ashrow Diamond, didn't you? Marginally, though, 33.9% of votes.
That William Mullins thing, isn't it?
It really is. Or it might just be that it was A, and that's as far as everyone got. No, I don't.
No, your viewers.
You said that. You said that.
Your
Now
viewers are an awful lot more intelligent than that. They can get to the. As for the camera stuff, question about some of them.
My viewers know I'm joking. I do hope so, anyway. Right, let's have a look at some other novice performances, shall we? Hermes Allen. We managed to beat the fourth or fifth string of Billy Mullins and Gordon Elliott at the weekend.
loved the way he jumped, giving a really good ride again on the pace at Cheltenham. This was last Friday. I thought he jumped super for Harry Cobden. Winged the first, winged the second. Magic Drive is second behind him. He ultimately finished his second. Obviously the horse of twistance, as we've all been caught, he looked very green and raw, made a few mistakes, and he improved throughout the race, but from a long way out there's only going to be one winner, and that was Hermes Allen. You always wanted to be on him. Coasted down the hill to the third last, gets in really deep to the second last, but he's really quick at it. He dances in front of this one and just scoots way up the hill. Good performance. Music Drive's a solid horse. Hugh Briscoe got well outrun, but maybe the one to come out of it will be We've All Been Caught, and the horse at the back was really disappointing. Collector's item.
Yeah, I can see We've All Been Caught if stepped up and tripped. What did you make of the winner, David?
Yeah, it looked to be a lovely horse. Again, pleasure to watch the way he jumped and galloped. Lovely attitude. Polyglot. I'd say, his stamina is not going to be an issue. I thought you might see him in a 3 miler rather than the middle distance race, right. But that's not knowing much about it. I just thought that he could do that all day long. He could just jump and gallop and go that speed, and he has a bit of class to do that over 3 miles.
Okay, let's have a look at the Sky Bet Supreme Trial, shall we? That was won by Fenner Cross. Yeah,
look, loads of hurdles on it again because of the sun on Sunday. She's Electric went a decent enough gallop in front, round by the first hurdle, but look, and they all jumped okay. There was nothing stuck out or nothing that was wrong with any of them. Springwell Bay was really well fancied, but down to the third last, 7 of the 8 can still win, which was the second last. Fenner Cross looks one of the more unlikely winners at this point in the white sleeves and the green colours under Simon Torrance, but he keeps at it really well, and some of them fade. I thought She's Electric had done well considering how keen she had been, but Fenner Cross outstayed them, and I'm not sure, Lydia, it was a hard race to get a gauge on. Fenner Cross stays really well. Did I jump up and down thinking, wow, no?
No, I think Mare went a bit too hard, didn't she? So she faded a bit up the hill. I think Ucantaga's probably overcompensated for dropping out and has then made his move quite quickly. I don't know. It's another race.
The fillies wouldn't have mentioned Lennoy, isn't she? She just goes. I'd say the track is not not ideal for as viewers. Horses were towards the front of the pace, but she overdone it maybe a little bit, as in herself.
Yes.
I'd say the winner he's another horse then that doesn't strike you as a Supreme Novice horse.
No, he doesn't.
He just doesn't strike you as a Supreme Novice. So he's one of them horses. You step him up and trip, or just I don't know. Is he a 2 miler? Is he a 2.5 miler?
You have 2 more runs and go for the county.
That's what I'd be thinking.
I suspect so too. I think there's going to be better form that eclipses this level of form. I
think so. I rode in the maiden hurdle that he won in Cheltenham, and it was a race. It was a competitive race, but it wouldn't strike you as this horse is going to hit the roof.
It's quite a decent race. Isn't there a graded race at Doncaster later on this season that She Is Electric might be, because of that flat track?
Yeah, 2 miles way sooner. Yeah,
like that might be quite good.
Live in Ireland should give us a good lead for a long time.
Right, let's have a look at the 4 auctions, shall we? That was won by Hercule de Soy.
Jumped well. Hercule de Soy was his strongest point. Keen going horse, rocked along in front under Mark Walsh. Obviously Imagine was in here, and the horse in 3 Car Bragg that Davy Russell won on before that. Was Hercule de Soy's jumping stood out to him. I was slightly disappointed with 3 Car Bragg. I thought he'd travel a bit better. He came home well, and he's a horse in the McNeil colours that's stepping up and trip will be taken out of it. That said, I thought Hercule de Soy, when he missed the last, did really well to win. Up against the hill in Navan, when he missed the last, to get going again takes a bit of doing.
3 Car Bragg has got to improve his jumping, hasn't
It'll come. He's very babyish in ways. He was in Galway, and going a little bit gear faster didn't help his jumping. So, as you're dead right, he does have to improve his jumping, but he will.
Yeah, he's certainly got an engine. He was rallying nicely.
He's a good horse. He's a good horse.
Yeah.
And how good is Hercule?
He surprises. He keeps improving, but his jumping really suited him. I'm not sure about real testing ground for him though.
Okay, right, we're sticking with the hurdlers for the final bit of the show, and we're going to have a look at the 2 milers, and the obvious place to start is the Greatwood. Much like the Supreme trial, it was quite a depleted set of hurdles. Only 5 out of the 8 of them were actually jumped.
It was, but the winner, to be fair to him, with a lot of weight in his back, jumped out on the pace. I like to move it. Sam Twiston-Davis wanted to be in the middle of the track. Sonagino goes down the inside, bit high at the first hurdle, which was a part of his jumping really. He didn't get much lower as he went through, but he's a strong staying horse because they didn't hang around. You see Sonagino, he's beat already who went with him. They're round by the last hurdle, and only Gin Coco was the only horse who come from off the pace to try and close him down, who was getting plenty of weight off him. But I like to move as a strong staying horse. Nigel said he got back to the international, which would look made for him. If he's going to improve from there to whatever it be in January, he just needs to come down out of the air a little bit. He's a bit high and clean for a Grade 1 hurdler.
If anything, his jumping was actually a little bit better than it was last season, but he's still got that to brush up, as Ruby says.
Yeah, he's maturing and he's a better horse again this year than he was last year, I feel. And I think the route he's going to take will answer all the questions, you know. And I think track it would be, you know, a staying track like Cheltenham over 2 miles is what he wants.
I'm sure he'll be asked plenty of questions between now and the champion hurdle. He's trained by Nigel Twiston-Davis, which I'm not knocking.
No, he runs him, gets the most out of his horses.
I agree.
Other people could, you know, might
learn
take a leaf out of his book.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Make them fill up them races, and even at entry stage, fill them up and give yourself the option.
Yeah, all power to his elbow. I'm quite serious. I totally agree with Davy. Right, let's have a look at the Fishery Lane, in which Brazil beat Phil Dore.
Yeah, look, a lot of weight involved here as well, and it was a slowly run race. Not slowly run, Prairie Dancer jumped out to go. Field Dore was always travelling on his outside. Brazil in the pocket. Here, away from the third last is take your pick. Field Dore, Brazil, he misses the second last and it's race over. Brazil scoots by him and Field Dore never gets it back. But interestingly, Davey, had Field Dore been schooled over fences?
Yes.
Looked like it.
Yeah, and is that where he's going to go, do you think? Because Gordon was talking about that at the start of the season.
Yeah, I don't know, but it has been said that he was going to go novice chasing, yeah.
And does he jump a fence better than he jumps to out there?
He jumped really well. I
wouldn't mind that now. That's harsh.
He's a brilliant jumper.
He usually is. I remember him.
Oh no, he's excellent. As a juveniles go, he would be a juvenile that you just turn down into a fence and then rock and roll. Yeah, okay. He's good. He's a natural jumper. Yeah, just one of them things.
How about Brazil? He won the Fred Winter. He was well beaten by Night Salute and Pied Piper at Aintree.
Yeah, I just think it's interesting that Brazil is still a full horse, and I wonder what the plan is with him. Are they going to make a stallion of him?
Yeah, well,
is that the potential? So what will they do?
It's the French way, you know.
Yeah.
There's mare's been covered in France by lesser jumpers than Brazil, so it could be an option. Yeah.
So then you try and find a race somewhere to make him, or try and get him as close to winning a Grade 1 as you can, and make a stallion.
That hadn't really crossed my mind. I was aware of it in one part of my brain, but I hadn't sort of connected it with the other.
I'm just thinking out loud.
Yeah.
Dangerous thing to do.
Interesting. Perry Gross also thinks he's a stayer, interestingly.
Could be.
Yeah. Let's have a look at the champion hurdle betting, shall we? Because that's going to be impacted this weekend. Constitution Hill is running at Ascot. Enough Rain has fallen, and Honeysuckle, the insult, the dual winner unbeaten mare, is 7-2 second favourite.
Can I just say something here? If Isterbrack was going for his third champion hurdle, when he was going for his third champion hurdle, would something like that happen?
I wouldn't have thought so.
Is she not exactly the same as Isterbrack? In ways,
like she is to me what you dream to have as a racehorse. You bring it to the race every day, and it just keeps winning and winning and winning and winning, and all people look for is something to beat.
And you take her on, you don't take her on, you get her to make the running, you take her on 5 from home, 4 from home, whenever you want.
Line up outside or inside or do what you want. Yeah.
Cover her up, done.
I agree. All of these things. Does it not say something about the lack of depth in this division? And now Constitution Hill has come.
But that goes back like what's Hurricane Fly beaten? She's beaten nothing. 1,000 Stars and Solid. You're right. He was beaten. Yeah. just because they couldn't keep up with him. But people are saying the same about her. Oh, what's she beating? She's that good that unfortunately for the rest, who are probably good horses, she's just making them look way inferior.
But there is loads of depth to the champion hurdle this year, is there not, with Bob?
This time round, yes. But so far is more what I meant.
Yeah. Oh, definitely, yeah. From past years, yeah.
So, because if you're sort of doing it on ratings, she does have a £7 allowance as well, and if you're thinking about...
She's still going to have that.
I know, but I'm talking historically in terms of how you would compare horses that have won the champion hurdle.
She's Istabrack.
She's not Istabrack.
By God, she will be in March. She most certainly will be in March.
I am not dismissing her or crabbing her in any kind of way.
Well, Istabrack was the best.
You have to realise this is live and you're in Clonmel, so I'd get more on the honeysuckle camp now if I was you.
That's a very good point. There's nothing to compare to Honeysuckle. She's a fabulous mare, absolutely fabulous. Pied Piper, what do you think of him? Do you think he's got... I mean, I know it's a difficult second season for
he's a typical juvenile, as you said, but why, 2 runs, 2 wins this year. Gordon's doing a marvellous job with him, but he is the horse that you would say, typical season after juvenile, he might struggle, but not struggling yet in his 2 races won.
Because he can be quite slick and he's got that turn of speed.
But how long he maintains it, which I've found to my detriment in entry, he doesn't maintain it for a big spell.
Right.
So
okay. So you've got to deliver him late.
Yeah. And in my defence, I was left in front way too early. But water under the bridge.
It's over.
Yeah.
It's over.
It's gone. I haven't forgotten it yet. So.
I can see.
Still hurting.
Right, let's have a look at the Coral Ascot hurdle declaration, shall we? Hurrah! Constitution Hill is there. We're going to get to see him making his seasonal debut. He's up against Brewing Up a Storm for Pleasure, Uhtred and Goshen. Good luck, guys, against Constitution Hill.
Yeah, and I agree. Look, last year he's favoured because of this supreme performance,
which was devastating.
It was. Now, Jonbon and Dysart Dynamo go from the gates down over the first hurdle and they rattle and Constitution Hill let them off, but when they steady going to the second, Constitution Hill is caught up, and from there on Nico never lets the race away from him. As much as Jonbon takes on Dysart Dynamo, from this point on he sticks to them. Dysart's gone on again, but look at the gap back to Mighty Potter, top of the hill. You can see Nico here now, he starts to push Constitution Hill, he's not letting the 2 of those off, and by the time he gets down to the second last he's absolutely running away. Now why am I with Davy and so all over Honeysuckle? I think I saw Mastermind to do this and never reproduce it again. This was so good. Can a horse do it twice?
It was unbelievable to watch. I'd say he's good now. I'd say he is good.
He is good.
He's got... I don't think he's... he has to keep progressing is what I'm saying. He has to keep doing that. He's going to have to do that at the weekend, and keep doing it because he won't. You won't be able to judge Constitution Hill until he meets the filly.
He's got to, exactly. He's got to go up in the big.
So
lead.
you can. He will, unless he does that all year long. He won't get near.
Again, I hate to mention the R word, ratings again, but time for.
They're only opinions.
Backed up with facts and good mathematics. Timeform have him as the highest races novice hurdler ever, better than Golden Signet. That's how serious they think this horse is. And didn't he? I mean, I take your point about will they be able to repeat? Is a horse able to repeat a stellar performance like that? The race was just set up for him to express what he has.
Correct.
But he still went and did that.
Yeah.
And as a 5-year-old, did he leave it all behind him that day? Who knows?
Or he could just, as a 5-year-old, could just improve into the monster that's what they're all
saying he is.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's no one
the ponderables.
There's no one to say he's not, but
you're right. He's got to beat Honeysuckle, and so far no horse has been able to do that. So that's what we're all looking forward to at Cheltenham in March. But there's lots of other good races we can see them in between. Right. Okay. Let's have a look at the Morgiana because we've got an important Grade 1 here in Ireland on Sunday at Punchistan, and it's a Willie Mullins benefit. How many of those 6 is he going to run?
His intention yesterday said the 6 of them were running. I'd be amazed if he runs all 6. And I wasn't there this morning, Lydia, to find out the answer. Unfortunately, I was here with you. But what do I think? I'd be surprised if he runs. There's no way he'll run 6 of them. There's no way.
Gerhard, I'm going to put to you that he's not going to run Sir Gerhard and that horse goes novice chasing.
I think he could. I don't know. That'd be my choice. But it'll be interesting to see what Willie does. I think Statement and Stay Hurdling Vauban definitely does. I think that Sir Gerhard Statement, I think Sir Gerhard will go jumping.
Should we start by having a look at Sir Gerhard? We are having a look at Sir Gerhard. Sorry about that.
Yeah, look, here he is. Duck Journey with Me, Three Stripe Life. He's the Ballymore winner. Ballymore winners have a good record going back to champion hurdles. Way better record than Supreme horses have. So, look, there's that bit of form. He'd obviously disappointed at Cheltenham then. You have Vauban, who was very good in the Triumph. Made a mistake at the last, but should we know, we're talking about Pied Piper, Field Door. It's such a hard year for 4-year-olds. He was good.
Is he going to run a 4-year-old against that lot?
First time out?
This time.
I think it'll be a huge ask for him.
Yeah.
The obvious one to me is Statement.
Right.
He's a runaway winner of the county hurdle, and here's Vauban. Look, he does well after making that mistake to go back and beat likes of Pied Piper and Field Door. There's no doubt that he could be a champion hurdle horse, but he's still a 4-year-old, and that'll be in the back of my head for the whole year. 4 Rising 5, I think it's really hard. Whereas Statement, I just think when you watched him in the county, the ease at which he travelled up, he'd have to. It's a handicap hurdle. But then when you watched him at Punchestown, with the ease he switches. There he is at second last in the county, scoots up on the outside. But like he's the champion hurdle horse has to do this in the county hurdle, in my opinion. But it's the Punchestown run that you're going to see in a second. That's the one that really impressed me. The quality horse in front of him and the ease with which he pulls out from behind them.
Where would he have finished in the Supreme Novices?
I thought for a lot of last season he was our Supreme horse.
You only mentioned that later.
I did, yeah, because he fell at Christmas. But
years
here,
in a row.
look,
Gallop
Flame
finished
Bearer,
on State
Kill
Man.
Crut, Three Stripe Life. He's doing a half speed down the outside
Yeah, no, it was a good performance. Get by very easy.
and ridden that way. That's over 2.5. He stays, he has speed. He's the one I like.
Welcome back to Clonmel for a bonus feature that you have been promised. It's a bit colder now than it was earlier when we did the rest of the show with Davy. I've been and walked the course, which was fantastic.
Did you enjoy that, yeah?
I really enjoyed it.
Bring a spare of shoes?
I did bring a spare pair of shoes. My companion Will Heller did not.
I know, yeah. It's just,
Rookie error.
you know the guy that doesn't go racing much, don't you?
The climb.
Oh, it
The
is.
winning line is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's so many tracks in Ireland. You've seen a few, but like Clonmel with its undulations, you really think this is a climb you should go to Downpatrick, Tramore, even Galway, the climb out the dip in Galway. This is undulating, but we have better.
I'm looking forward to seeing them. Right, let's have a look back on what we've seen today. Shall we start with the Clonmel Oil Chase, where Blue Lord just managed to hang on past the rallying Tornado Flyer. Looking at them beforehand, I thought Tornado Flyer of the pair looked the fitter.
He did to me in the paddock as well, but a steadily run race, quite tactical. Pretty much Darasso was the only fit one in there, but the other three were having their seasonal debut. Danny got to dictate it in front. Tornado jumps the way Tornado jumps. It's good, it's a little erratic, it's never spectacular, but it turned into a dash down to the second last, which suited Blue Lord, who switched to the outside, and that was the difference for me, and the difference in winning and losing. It was the jump at the second last. Tornado was way up in the air and dwelled, whereas Blue Lord went there a half a lane behind, and again they got away on the landing side. He's a length and a half in front, and he gets home as Tornado rallies back to him. But look, it was a step up in trip for Blue Lord. 2.5 I think will suit him. I think he'll settle better with that run under his belt. 2.5 will suit him, and Tornado Flyer, I'm sure, will go back towards the King George.
Via the John Durkin, both of them.
Could both go via the John Durkin, which is just over 3 weeks away. A couple of Willies have done that in the past, so I wouldn't be surprised if both went via the John Durkin.
Okay, and long-term targets for the two of them beyond that? I mean,
Tornado looks to be a better horse this time of year, Lydia. He is not a horse that is trained into the spring, so ultimately the John Durkin, King George are probably his targets. Blue Lord, 2.5 miles seems to suit him, so John Durkin, and where do you go after that then? It's either up or back at Christmas.
Okay, but I expect him to strip a lot fitter and to make quite a bit of improvement.
Yeah,
next
definitely.
time
Yeah.
we see him.
Yeah, most definitely. There's first run, so you can expect them all to be a bit
true,
leaner
but
and
I think
meaner.
More than the two of them was kind of what I was meaning. The Mare's Chase, I felt so sorry for Ballyshannon Rose. Done on the line by Dolcicci. You probably don't share my point of view. It was a beautiful ride from Poole Town End.
A super ride, but I think Brian Hayes said about it brilliantly on a mare that had two runs this season already. Good run behind French Dynamite and Turles. She's a good yardstick. Ratings in the mid 130s. Paul Fahey trains her. She was fit. She likes the ground. She stays, and she went about stretching probably better mares who weren't as fit as her. Ellie May, Scarlet and Dove. Scarlet and Dove made a mistake at the third last. They got raced.
Statutory error. She has to put in.
She does, and she made it. And then they got racing down the hill, and Paul Townend just went, well, away you go. He let them at it. Brian Hayes was happy to engage. He sucked the life out of Scarlet and Dove and Ellie May, but unfortunately for him, he just got under the last. Dolcita winged it, and that was the difference.
Yeah, so is Dolcita flattered by that, the perfect setup, or is she better?
She is probably better. She had to get a brilliant ride to win, there's no doubt about that, but she will strip a hell of a lot fitter. I thought, looking at that bunch in the ring, Scarlet and Dove was round, so was Ellie May, but I thought Dolcita looked the roundest of them. What did you think?
I thought that Dolcita looked the roundest of them, absolutely. I thought the other two were fit enough for first time out,
Yeah,
but I can see that they might.
To me, the unfittest has gone and won, so she could improve plenty.
Okay, really interesting. So we've had some great stuff here at Clonmel. We hope that you have enjoyed our special edition here, particularly the part where...
Have you enjoyed Clonmel?
I have loved Clonmel. I am definitely coming back. I think it's a fantastic place.
Well, we have loads of racecourses like this, Lydia.
Well, I look forward to enjoying them all. Thank you very much to Davy Russell as well for this morning's show. Thank you to Ruby, of course. And
Thank
we will
you.
see you back in our normal circumstances at 9 o'clock next week.
Win £25,000 with Paddy's Pick 5. Pick 5 winners from our 5 races to win. Paddy Power.
Subscribe to Racing TV's YouTube channel now to watch more great races like this.